Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Marquee Picks. And today we got another special video as I'm being joined once again by my guy at Deshaun Raw, host of the Bell to the Books YouTube channel. And we're going to be going over our 2026 NBA playoffs bracket predictions. We got the whole bracket covered in this video today. We're going to go over every single matchup that we think is going to happen and pick our champions at the end of this thing. So we may not agree on a lot of these, but that's up to you guys to make the final decisions. If you guys are going to be betting these, putting in, future champions and stuff like that. This video's got you guys covered. Also, tune into the free Discord link down below. We will be dropping all the slips, all the props in that free Discord as the tournament gets deeper on into it. And, we'll see what kind of matchups we do end up getting at that time. But in this video, we're going to go over our predictions for the bracket, pick our champions, and really just see who's going to be coming out on top here in our predictions. So, Deshaun, do you have anything you want to say before we start cracking down this bracket?
Yeah, I think this year's NBA playoffs is going to be better than last year's, honestly. I could see a lot of upsets in this playoffs, but it's going to be very, very tough. Some of these matchups can easily go to 7 games, and some of them should be easy sweeps. I mean, you just never know. But I'm just ready to get to my champion.
All right. And if you guys like any of Deshaun's stuff, any of his insight, go check out his YouTube channel. I'll link it down in the description below. He posts daily NBA videos pretty much every single day. So go over there, check him out, hit the subscribe button, let him know I sent you over there. He's definitely going to appreciate that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the play-in tournament start of the NBA. So we're taking a look at here at the East play-in round 1 here. Got the 10 seed Miami Heat taking on the number 9 seed Hornets. And I do think this is going to be a very, very good game here. But at the end of the day, the Hornets have been a team all season that I think's got a shot to make a run in this playoffs. So they got a heck of a road ahead of them because they have one of the toughest, journeys just to get into the playoffs, So they got to get it started here. I like the fact that they are at home for this game. It's being played in Charlotte. It's definitely going to be a big boost because if this game is being played in Miami, it's not a good matchup to play down in Miami. They got a good crowd that shows up, especially for playoff games. They got wideouts. So I'm glad this game is being played in Charlotte. And I think the aura around this Charlotte basketball team is just off the charts. You got LaMelo out there, who is very, very good. Stat sheet stuffer. And you got Brandon Miller, who has had a heck of a season. Definitely, I would say, one of the most improved players this year in the NBA. He's had a heck of a year. Miles Bridges, he could be the wild card for me because he has been a guy that can really just stink on the basketball court, but at other times out there actually providing some good things on the court. So if Miles Bridges can make some physical plays, because I think they're going to need some physicality out of this Hornets basketball team to win this game against the Heat. So Miles Bridges being a physical basketball player, he's got to bring it. Also, Moussa Diabate being a physical force inside, he's got to be able to bring it as well. And don't even get me started with Con Knipple. I would say he's right up there with Cooper Flagg in the Rookie of the Year. I really couldn't tell you who's going to win that thing. To be honest, I'd probably give it to Cooper Flagg, especially what after Flagg's been doing recently, to close out the season, dropping 40 bombs and stuff like that. But Con Knipple, that dude's an absolute baller. So I think the talent is just more on the Hornets side. So I'm going to roll with the Hornets here. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat do come out here and win. Experienced coach, Spoelstra, experienced team, Bam Adebayo led group. So it's going to be a fantastic game here. I think this game could go to either one of these teams, but I am going to lean the Hornets. I just think they have too much built around this ball club. So, Sean, what do you have for this one?
Yeah, I think this can be a very, very sneaky game. Let's remember, these two teams have already faced each other 4 times in the regular season. I mean, that's a lot of times facing one another. And, Miami has owned this Charlotte team, winning the season series 3-1. Charlotte won their last meeting. Charlotte actually, they blew them out at home. But Miami Heat has just had it figured out against Charlotte. But, Heat have been a night and day team this season. They've been all over the place. They're the 10 seed for a reason. Do I think that they're better than the Hornets? No. I give the edge to the Hornets because they have home court advantage. But like I said, I think these two teams are very, very similar. Both of them can shoot lights out on any given night. If the Hornets aren't hitting threes, you can go ahead and cancel Christmas. They're losing the game. Simple as that. Heat, man, they're awful. Man, the Heat's awful. It's as simple as that. But they can just, I'm not going to give up on an Eric Spoelstra-led team, especially in the playoffs. They just do something different. They might suck during the regular season, and then playoffs come and then they turn up. But I just feel like for this game right here, it's going to be a very close game because, like I said, they match up very well against each other. It'll come down to the final possession, but it'll be Hornets for me. I mean, this is probably the biggest game in the Spectrum Center since God knows when. I mean, Charlotte fans haven't had a chance to experience this in years. So finally having something like this, I think the crowd shows up, and I definitely think it's a factor. So yeah, I'll take the Hornets.
All right, we're in agreement there. On to the next play-in game. We're going to be looking at the East play-in for the 7th seed. Number 8 seed Magic taking on the number 7 76ers. And I think the home court advantage is going to be massive for this game. Philadelphia has one of the best crowds in all of sports. They're definitely going to pack the I believe I forget what they call this center now. Deshaun, do you remember what they call this center? I know it's they were going by Wells Fargo.
The Xfinity Mobile.
Right. I know they've been going by the Wells Fargo Center for so long. I know like this year they changed it. It's kind of hard keeping up all these stadium names, but Deshaun, he usually keeps up all these stadium names, so that's why I usually reference him on those. But yeah, this is just a great home environment here for the 76ers. Great crowd. I'm going to lean on that being a massive factor here. Also, guys like Tyrese Maxey, Paul George. I know there's no Joel Embiid out there, which is massive injury loss for the 76ers. But I mean, he's been hurt really the whole dang season. So 76ers are used to it at this point. Tyrese Maxey and Paul George, I think, are enough to get by this Orlando Magic squad that is very healthy right now. They got Franz Wagner back in the mix. Of course, you got Banchero out there, Desmond Bane, Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs. That's a pretty solid, formidable bunch. However, I think Tyrese Maxey just clears everybody in this game. I just don't really know who's going to be able to defend Tyrese Maxey because I think Maxey honestly might go for 40+ in this game if it really comes down to it because he's just that kind of player that can just will his team to victory. And you got Paul George out there who can give you some buckets as well. And over the last couple weeks of this season, Paul George has been turning back the clocks here. He's been dropping like 30 bombs in pretty much every game, 20+ points. Dude's been hooping. Looking like the old Paul George of old. So that's definitely enticing to me. I hate that they don't have Joel Embiid out there, but in terms of this matchup, I think the Orlando Magic, they've just been a suspect team all season. I understand a majority of those games were without Franz Wagner being healthy. Magic have their whole roster available, but I think the chemistry is going to be out of whack here. I really do. So give me the 76ers to come out here on home court and get this win. It should be a battle of a game. But again, I do think the 76ers squad with Tyrese Maxey leading the way, I think Tyrese Maxey's going over 40. So a little bit of a foreshadow there into some player props maybe. But yeah, Tyrese Maxey, I'm in love with this situation here for him. So Sean, what do you have for this one?
Yeah, I'm going to have to lean the other way. Even though the Magic's absolute dirt, I think this is just a really, really good spot for them. Yes, Philadelphia does have one of the most ruckus crowds in that arena. Do not get me wrong. Very, very good home court advantage for them. It's just, like I said, Philly is one of those other 9-day teams. With Embiid, very, very good on the season. Without Embiid, they have a losing record. And I just don't trust them without him. And two, also, Philadelphia is a better road team than they are a home team this season. So if you want to look into that, Magic fully healthy. I know Philadelphia, these two teams have played 3 times this season. Philadelphia has beaten them twice out of the 3 games. And Philadelphia beat them in the most recent meeting. So this is also a revenge game for Orlando as well. I'm going to take the more healthier team here in Orlando. I honestly think Orlando should be favored. to beat Philadelphia just because of how healthy they are and the absence of Embiid. Like, you can see where the odds makers are having this game. That's why it's so close and almost to a pick 'em, because these two teams are very, very similar. And without Joel Embiid, they know Philadelphia is not that good. Yes, you've been having people like Paul George stepping up, Oubre stepping up, Edgecombe stepping up, Quinn Grimes. But even at home, I just still don't think it's enough against a healthy Orlando Magic team. I still have a little bit of faith in them. Like I said, preseason, I thought they would be the 1 seed in the East, had very, very high hopes, but obviously they're the 8. It has not been good. But it's just something about this Magic team that I think they can get it done. And also, bouncing back from that horrendous loss on the final day, losing on the road in Boston against Boston's G League team, with a healthy Orlando Magic team lost to them outright. I don't think they like it. I think they're going to come into this game with some vengeance, some animosity, some anger, and I think they put it on Philadelphia. So I'm going to take Orlando.
All right, there you have it. Our first disagreement here on the video today. We'll see how that one turns out. On to the next set of games here. So these are our predictions here for the 8 seed matchups. My prediction will be the Hornets and the Orlando Magic. And again, I just really like this Hornets team. Love the aura around them. And the Magic do lose that game to the 76ers. I think their mentality is going to be shot. However, they will be at home for this matchup, so they will get the home crowd behind them. And they do have a pretty good home crowd there in Orlando. They will show out for these playoff matchups. But in terms of this game, the Hornets knocking off the Heat, I think they build good momentum while Orlando's building bad momentum in this game. So the Hornets are riding high right now. And again, I do like this Hornets team. So I think they come out here in Orlando. LaMelo puts on a show. Or LaMelo has had very, very good success, especially playing Orlando in his career, but especially playing in Orlando, not just against Orlando. He really likes playing against his team. He puts up massive games. So in a playoff situation, when the season's on the line, a 1-game winner take all, LaMelo's going to show out. And I just don't know if Banchero is ready to take that next step in leading his team to a victory. So I'm going to take the Hornets here to beat the Magic and get that 8 seed. So Deshaun, what about your matchup?
Yeah, I have Charlotte going up against Philadelphia, and it's going to be the same thing for me. Philadelphia is going home. I don't think Embiid plays in this game either. Even if he does, I still like Charlotte. Charlotte has just been one of those teams this season where when they're hot, they're hot. This is a Hornets team that I do not want to face at all, because they can shoot the 3 ball. They can also defend without fouling. That's something major that you need. Yes, Charlotte is a young team, but I think they're outright better than Philadelphia. Like I said, Philadelphia does have the veteran leadership on that roster and playoff experience on that roster, but just because you have that doesn't result in wins. And I think the Hornets are going to come into that game. I think they're going to honestly shoot the lights out. And I wouldn't be surprised if they blow them out. So it would be Hornets for me. I'm just going to take the better team.
All right, those are our East play-in predictions for the 7 and 8 seeds. On to the West play-in now. We got the 10 seed Warriors taking on the number 9 Clippers. And this is a spot where I did want to take the Warriors, but I just feel like the way that they've just been banged up miserably by these injuries, no Jimmy Butler and that horrific injury by Moses Moody at the end of the year, they're losing guys where they can't afford to lose guys. They're not one of these teams that can go down, 11, 12 guys in the depth chart and put them in some minutes and they'll produce. They're not that kind of team. So I understand you got Steph Curry out there. He's always lethal during this time of year, but he's just not at that level anymore. I don't feel it. And he's been dealing with some bad injuries here this season, missed at least like a couple months. It feels like, just this last, couple months of the season, he hasn't been out there. So I understand he's been back in the rotations these last few games, trying to knock a little bit of that rust off. I just don't know if it's going to be enough to knock off the Clippers here. I really don't. So I trust the Clippers, especially if Kawhi is going to be out there. I trust Kawhi more than Curry right now in terms of the ability to play, because Kawhi has played more than Curry has this year. So give me Kawhi to be the difference maker here. Also, you have Darius Garland. So I just feel like they have more players that the Warriors don't. So I'm going to take the Clippers here to knock off the Warriors here. It's going to be a pretty good game, but I do think the Clippers do prevail. And I honestly think they literally might just blow them out. I really feel that way, you know? So give me the Clippers to knock off the Warriors here. Sean, what do you have here?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna take the Clippers as well. One thing, if you know about me, I do not like betting the Warriors on the road. I like betting Golden State in Golden State. I like taking the Clippers in the Intuit Dome. They have an unfair home court advantage with the wall, whatever the hell you want to call it, but it's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And like piggyback off of what you said, I don't trust this Golden State team. Yes, they have a healthy Curry, but it's just what's your surrounding piece is going to do for you. I trust this Clippers team more than I trust this Warriors team. It feels like that this Warriors team has been dead for weeks, and I just don't think that they're going to come in here and win a play-in game, especially on the road. I just don't see it. Kawhi, he's been very, very good. Darius Garland has been underrated, in my opinion. I think they have good size. I think they have good defenders that can really match up with the Warriors and stop their offensive prowess. And I agree with you. I think the Clippers do burn a hole in Golden State. The Clippers have owned the series against Golden State during the regular season as well. I think Golden State and the Clippers, they played 3 days ago as well. So still fresh on their mind, haven't played each other and stuff like that. I just think the Clippers get it done. They turned their season around. They're playing a lot better. Give me the Clippers.
All right, in agreement there with that one. On to the next one we got is going to be the 7 seed play in here for the West. We got the 8 seed Trailblazers taking on number 7 Phoenix Suns. Gonna make this one a quick one for me. This Trailblazers team, they really shouldn't be anywhere near a playoff in my opinion. They're just such a young team, but I mean, they have had a good year. They've had an amazing year. They have overachieved, in my opinion, but still, this Suns team, you got Devin Booker, you got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. That's enough right there to make me move the needle. Those guys all have tons and tons of playoff experience. So they know the situation, especially Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker in the playoffs is going to be lethal. He is going to be a problem because he's really the guy now. Over the last couple of years, he's had Kevin Durant with him. So now that he gets to be the guy, I think he likes that opportunity. He likes that role. He thrives in that role. He's going to be the difference maker. I don't really see the Trailblazers have anybody that can slow him down. I understand they have Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, a few years ago was one of the best defensive guards in the league.
Yep.
But I just don't know if he's at that level anymore to be able to slow down Devin Booker. And if they do slow down Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, he can go out there and get you buckets as well. And Jalen Green, he can do it as well. So they got guys that can go out there and get buckets. If it's not Booker, it's probably going to be one of the others. So give me the Suns here to knock off the Trailblazers. I also don't think this game is relatively close. I think the Suns can win this game by double digits. So Suns, I like them a lot here. So give me them to knock off the Trailblazers. Deshaun, what do you have?
Yeah, I'm going to take Phoenix here as well. I don't think it ends in a blowout, though. I think Suns probably win this game between 5 and 8 points. I think it is a 2-possession game. Suns, I think they are the better team. Blazers have been the better team as of late, though. Blazers have been hot. I mean, they've been playing a lot of teams really, really tough. And I do like this Blazers team, just not against Phoenix. I think this is a bad spot for them. I think Phoenix has a decent team. Dylan Brooks, Green, Booker, Mark Williams, Gillespie. We'll see if Grayson Allen's available. It's just I think the Suns have a more well-rounded team than the Blazers, and I think the Suns win this game. Like I said, it's another thing with home court advantage. I think it's gonna do wonders for these play-in game home teams. So give me the Suns.
All right, in agreement there. On to the 8 seed predictions. We both have the same matchup here. We got the Trailblazers and the Clippers. And I'm going to lean the Clippers here again. I don't really think this Trailblazers team is ready for the moment yet. I think this Trailblazers team is going to be really good next year, especially if they do get Damian Lillard back in the mix. I think this Trailblazers team will be a force next year. A little bit of an underrated team to make a run at a top spot, maybe. But as of right now, they don't really have playoff experience. I mean, Drew Holiday, Jeremy Grant are probably like your only guys that have real playoff experience. You know, Drew Holiday, of course, won the NBA Finals with the Celtics, so he's probably your most experienced guy. But they just don't have enough. You know, Denny Avdia, I was a hater on him at the beginning of the year. I would always target unders on his props, and they would cash in. But as the season gone on, you would see me take some overs on Denny Avdia, especially, you know, over the last couple months of the NBA season. So Denny Avdia has showed me that he is an absolute hooper, but he's just not enough in this kind of spot. Because if you give me Kawhi out here, that's the difference. You got to take the best players in these kind of matchups. So Kawhi Leonard, he has ultimate playoff experience. He's in these situations pretty much every year. Also, Darius Garland has great playoff experience as well. Hasn't been the greatest experience with Garland because usually he sucks in the playoffs. That's the main reason why the Cavaliers got him up out of there, is because over the last couple of years, the Cavaliers playoff droughts, you know, when we lose, yeah, I had to do something with Garland's injury problems with that foot, but he would still play in those moments and he just didn't produce, probably because of the injury. But, you know, you're going to look at the stat lines that point in the year. You're not going to pay attention if you're injured or not. You got to produce when you're out there, especially if you're an all-star caliber player. You got to put up the numbers, and Garland just hasn't in the playoffs. So we'll see what version of Darius Garland we get in these playoffs. Low key, he might be a sleeper on this Clippers team to carry him. You know, and everybody's probably looking at Kawhi. They probably forget about Garland over there because Garland can go out there and carry a team when he wants to. So give me the Clippers here. They're just too much to power the Trailblazers. Deshaun, what about your side?
Yeah, I'm taking Portland. I think this is where the Clippers season ends. They've had a nice run, but like I said, that home court advantage is gonna be something for these play-in games. These two teams know each other very, very well. These two teams were fighting to be able to be the 8 seed and be able to get that extra game in, and Portland prevailed. I think they do it again. I think they have enough pieces on that team, especially at home. Avdia, bona fide all-star, Klingon, Robert Williams, Shaden Sharp. Don't forget, he was injured. He's back. Kamara, Drew Holiday, Scoot Henderson's in the lineup. I really do think this Portland Trailblazers team does have enough. I think they get back to the postseason and knock the Clippers out. Like I said, good run by the Clippers. I do think this is going to be a very close game as well. But I just think Portland in this spot is going to show up. They're going to be a better team. Like I said, they're used to the Clippers by now. They've been dogging it out with them for I don't know how long in these final weeks. But I think Portland eventually prevails.
All right. That's the play-in tournament predictions for us. Now we're going to be on to the regular playoffs here. Taking a look at the Eastern Conference round 1 here. Number 8 seed taking on number 1 seed. So after the same matchup here, we got the Hornets making it out of the play-in tournament as the 8 seed, taking on the number 1 seed Pistons. And this is where I'm going to make a little bit of a stand here. My first stand that I'm probably going to take all playoffs. Probably the biggest upset I'm taking. I'm taking the Hornets. Give me the Hornets over the Pistons. Again, I like this Hornets team. Also, another factor into this is the Pistons roster right now. Injury concerns. Cade Cunningham. Is he going to be available for the playoffs? I don't know. And if he is available, he's probably not going to be 100%. So that's a big loss. You know, talking about one of the MVP candidates of the league this year, not going to be available for the playoffs possibly. So given that, I understand the Hornets have to go on a juggernaut path to get into the playoffs, and they have to play the number 1 seed. But this Hornets team is definitely capable of doing it just because of the points we already touched on. They're a great 3-point shooting team. They got all-star caliber players in their starting lineup. Pretty much all 5 of them can be all-stars when they want to. So give me the Hornets to knock off the Pistons. The Pistons, they've had a great season. I did not expect them to be the number 1 seed. I expected them to be a top 5 seed, but definitely not number 1. They've had a great year, but I just think the injury problems this time of year are not good for the Pistons. So Hornets, they will prevail here over the Pistons. Deshaun, what about your side?
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. Hornets are going to upset the Pistons in round 1. This is something that I had brewing for a while during like mid-season. I was like, listen, if it's Hornets Pistons first round, I'm going to take the Hornets. And the reason why I'm going to take the Hornets is shooting. That's something Detroit does not have. I mean, they have Kevin Huerter and Duncan Robinson. We expect them to get it done over a 7-game series? No, sir. All I need from the Hornets is for them to shoot well from behind the arc. And they've done that all season. They've shown they can do that. They can defend. Detroit can defend crazy too. Detroit is a very, very physical team. They like to get in your face. They like to get in the paint and stuff like that. But like I said, Detroit's downfall is going to be their shooting and their secondary options other than Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Also, Duren, he's dealing with some things as well himself. So he's also a game-time decision heading into the postseason. I think he'll probably be fully ready by the time the first-round matchup for them start. But over a 7-game series and stuff like that, I'm just going to trust the better offense. Yes, this Charlotte Hornets team is young, but so is this Pistons team as well. I mean, Pistons haven't been this good since I don't know when, probably before I was born. But yeah, I mean, if we're expecting Cade Cunningham to do it all himself and get him out of this series, I just don't see it. Yes, Cade Cunningham is very, very good MVP candidate as well, but I just think that this Charlotte Hornets team has enough. I think they have the better shooters on their team. They have the better offense, and their defense is decent. And I think those are things that you need for an upset. So I'll honestly take the Hornets in 7 games.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm thinking. I think this game does go 7 probably, but it's just the points that we touched on. The better shooting team, I trust the Hornets more than the Pistons. The Pistons, people say defense wins games, but you got to score points too. You can't just play defense. So the Hornets, they're just a better offense, and I like the way that they can score. So we're both leaning the upset here. We'll see if it turns out. But yeah, Hornets 8 over the 1. First big upset here of the playoffs for us. Jumping into the next game here, we got the East Conference round 2, the 7 seed taking on the 2 seed. So my matchup, I have the 76ers matching up with the Celtics, and this is going to be an absolute doozy here. When these two teams meet in the playoffs, just go back in the recent history of these two teams matching up in the playoffs, especially over the last several years. It's been absolute cinema. And I believe just like the recent matchup between these two in the playoffs was when, James Harden was on the 76ers. That went 7 games. The 76ers did lose, but still, they match up very, very well against the Celtics, in my opinion. However, I really wanted to take the 76ers here to beat the Celtics. But without Joel Embiid in there, not knowing his status, I got to lean the Celtics here. But this series will definitely probably go 5 or 6. If Embiid is somehow available to play in any of these games, then it's definitely going to go 7, in my opinion, because I do think the 76ers match up very well against the Celtics here if they're all healthy. But not knowing the 76ers injury status, the Celtics, they're healthy. Getting Jason Tatum back this year has been amazing. I had no clue he was going to be available this year, but he all of a sudden was just putting in that work in the rehab, made his return out of the blue, really. I was not even expecting it until he played that game against the Mavericks there about like a month ago. And, he's been looking like the Jason Tatum that we've always known. So Celtics have the better talent right now. I trust them more. So they will win this game in 5. Win this series in 5, I should say, if there's no Joel Embiid. But if Embiid does play, I wouldn't be surprised if the series goes 7 and the 76ers pull an upset. But as of right now, I'm going to take the Celtics here to knock off the 76ers. Deshaun, what about your half of the matchup?
Yeah, I have the Orlando Magic facing the Boston Celtics, and this is going to be quick for me. Boston wins in 5 games. Uh, 1-2-3 Cancun for Orlando.
Yeah.
It's been coming. It's just as simple as that. This is not Orlando's year. They're not going to win a playoff series, especially against Boston. Boston, I think, is the best team in the East anyway. And Orlando just doesn't have the offense to hang with Boston. I think Boston has a better offense. I think Boston has a better defense as well. And I think Boston's the better shooting team. And I think Boston has a better bench, especially coming from seeing what they did against Orlando with their G Leaguers and stuff like that. Now you get to face their starting 5. Yeah, no, thank you. So it's Boston all day for me. Give me Boston in 5. I would not be surprised if Boston sweeps them, but I think Orlando can take a game at home. But yeah, Boston in 5 for me.
Yeah, if that matchup does happen, I definitely think the Celtics sweep them 4-0 for sure. So, yeah, that's our predictions there for the 7.
I was being respectful. At least give them a game. You know how this goes. You know, they at least won to be like, oh man, Orlando might be back, and then they lose the rest. So
yeah, that's the way the NBA is though. Like they hate sweeps because they don't win, they don't get money that way. So they definitely do try to screw a lot of calls if there's like a 3-0 situation. I've seen it happen so many times in the playoffs over the years. They want these games to go more because they get more commercial deals and stuff like that. That's the way the NBA is. So, you know, they probably do get one for a charity win, but yeah, Celtics will definitely win this game in 5 at the very minimum. So jumping into the next one here, we got the 6 versus 3 seed. We got the Hawks taking on the Knicks. Now, this is going to be a pretty good matchup here. I really like how this is shaping up. However, this Hawks team, I think, is just missing something on the roster. You know, you have some really good chemistry players. I think this roster works well, but I still think they're just missing that one player that can set them over the top. You know, I just don't know if Jalen Johnson is ready to carry this team past this Knicks team. I really don't. Jalen Johnson has been off the charts good this year. You know, posting triple doubles, it seems pretty much every game. It seemed for that stretch of months, he was just putting up big time stat numbers. You know, he's a stat sheet stuffer. It's what he is. But when it comes to clutch situations, when it comes to playoff situations, I don't know what kind of Hawks team we're going to get. But again, you have some good mix of veterans and young players. You know, CJ McCollum, veteran, playoff experience. He's not going to be afraid of the moment. You know, you got guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker who are a little bit younger, trying to take that next step. You know, I think it's a good mix of young and old guys. So I think if any team would make a run in this NBA playoffs, it'd probably be the Hawks. But however, when you're matching up against the Knicks, first off, the Knicks have home court advantage, which is probably, I would say, the best home court in all of the NBA. That place is just nuts. So tough place to play. You got to play them at least if this series does go 6 or 7, that means you're going to have to play the Knicks 4 times, which is not going to be a good situation because I don't see the Knicks losing like 2 or 3 of those. I think the Knicks do win all of their home games. If the Knicks do lose, it's probably in Atlanta for a couple. But I think the very minimum this series is going 6 or 7 games. Going to have to lean the Knicks to win. I trust their roster. I do think Mike Brown being their coach is a lot better than Thibodeau. So I think Mike Brown's going to manage their rotations better during these playoffs than the way Thibodeau's been managing them over the last couple of years. I think they're a better team, actually, with Mike Brown the coach. You know, Thibodeau, he just seemed like a moron at times coaching the Knicks. But I think Mike Brown does fit better for the playoff environment. The Knicks have been kind of a suspect team at times this year, but I think they're just waiting for the playoffs at this point. They're in the playoffs now. I think they're going to put it all together. They're always a scary team to face in the playoffs. They always usually have pretty good runs. They just haven't been able to get over that hump to make it to the finals. But I think they get over here in round 1 against the Hawks. It should be a great series, but I do think the Knicks will prevail just because they have that roster that's been together for years. They know how to play together. They know these situations. That's the difference. The Hawks just don't currently have that in their roster. So going to take the Knicks to knock off the Hawks here in round 1. Deshaun, what do you have?
Yeah, just copy and paste exactly what you just said. I definitely think this goes 6 or 7 games. I'm gonna lean towards 7. Just because, like I said, the Knicks are a night and day team away from Madison Square Garden. We're gonna fade New York. It's just as simple as that. And in Madison Square Garden, New York's gonna beat you up. It's as simple as that. The Hawks, they have a lot of forwards, a lot of like shooting guards and stuff like that. I don't know if they have a true point guard. That's why I'm gonna lean towards the Knicks. Like they don't have a Jalen Brunson s player on their team. Yes, they have Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker, McCullum. I don't know what the heck is going on with Risa Shea and why he's riding the bench. I don't know
Yeah.
what the hell is going on with him. But like I said, I like this Atlanta Hawks team. They have a lot of size. They can match up really, really well with the Knicks. But it's just the Knicks have a more veteran led team, and I know, like I said, doesn't matter if you have more veterans and more playoff experience from your veterans on your team. It doesn't always result in wins, but I think that comes to fruition here. Like I said, Hawks are still very young. I think they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with their team. If they want to get rid of some players and who to keep. But I think the Knicks are the more well-rounded team here. I think they get a scare from the Hawks. Like I said, I think it's going to go 7. I think the Hawks are a Trae Young away
Yeah.
from beating them. If they had Trae Young with this current team right here, I would definitely pick the Hawks. But without him, I just don't think it happens. So I'll take the Knicks to win in 7.
Yeah, I mean, when they made that trade, for Trey Young for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert, it was just I understood why they did it because Trey Young, I guess, didn't really want to play for Atlanta anymore. He's kind of been on an injury bug, and they just wanted to get a look at McCollum, and I just wish they kept Trey Young. I really do, because I think if Trey Young was on this roster, I think the Hawks could definitely make a run in the playoffs. But yeah, just like
Yeah.
Deshaun said, I think they are Trey Young away from taking that next step into being a contender, but they just don't have that right now. So I do think the Knicks are able to pull it off here. So jumping into the next matchup, we got the 4 and 5 seed here in the Eastern Conference. We got the 5 seed Raptors taking on my 4 seed Cavaliers. Going to keep this one really quick. Cavaliers fan, Cavaliers are going to dominate here. I was high on this Raptors team early on in the year. I really was. I thought they could be a sneaky team to make a run. However, when you're matching up against my Cavaliers, there ain't no way it's going to happen because we got James Harden on our team now. We got rid of Darius Garland, got James Harden. It's pretty much a 1-for-1 swap. And I'm okay with it. I didn't know how I thought about that right when we made the move early on this year when we traded James Harden. I mean, first reaction, I was didn't really like it, but after seeing how we've been playing recently with him, the only thing about us is the injuries, because usually this time of year, we're always kind of banged up. We're not 100%. Guys like Mobley, Allen, they've been pretty banged up this year. They're probably going to be able to play, but in terms of their health status, they're probably not 100%, but they're definitely going to go out there and give it their best. Donovan Mitchell, he's always been a force this year, one of the best scorers in the game. He can go out there and give you 40 or 50 every game if he really wants to. And when it comes to the Raptors here, I am very scared about this series. I really am. Very scared and terrified just because this Raptors team has a lot of, I would say, experienced guys that work well together. Quickly, Barrett, Ingram, Barnes, that's a pretty scary foursome right there, man. Pretty scary. I'd be lying if I said that I was confident. I think this is going to be a very, very good series. It's probably going to go 7 games, but the Cavaliers, I think, are going to be able to come out on top here. So give me the Cavaliers to take home the W. Deshaun, what do you have?
Yeah, I agree. This is going to be a very, very tough series. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Raptors have owned Cleveland this season. And honestly, I think this game goes to 6. Um, I think this is going to be a very, very close series. Both of these teams match up really well. Like, a lot of people are going to be writing off the Toronto Raptors. Don't do that. This is a team that can definitely compete. Granted, over the course of the season, Toronto has been really, really good against teams below 500, like really, really bad teams, and they have sucked against teams above 500, good playoff teams. This is another one here, but like I said, I'm pretty sure Toronto has dominated the season series between these two teams. They match up really, really well. I think this is going to be one hell of a series. I would not be surprised if Toronto pulls it out in 7. I think that's the only way Toronto wins this series is in 7. But I think Cleveland and the guys that they have, Harden, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, Strus, Wade, Merrill, all those guys, I think they just have enough to get it done. Um, I think this is a do or die year for Cleveland. They've been close and close and close. They cannot afford another round 1 exit, and I don't think they get it here. Yes, they get a slight scare from Toronto, but like I said, I don't think it's enough. So give me the Cavaliers in 6.
All right, now we're on to the next round here for the Eastern Conference round 2. We're taking a look at it's going to be the number 1 and 8 seed taking on the number 4 or 5 seed winner. So my matchup, I have the Charlotte Hornets taking on my Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is going to be a great series as well. However, I think the Cavaliers will prevail. Again, you guys probably knew where I was going with that one, but the Cavaliers, if they beat the Raptors in 7, it's going to be a heck of a series. But to get that win, I think is going to save their mentality into this round here, because the Hornets going against the Pistons, that's going to go 7 games. You're talking about taking a tax on their, bodies, already having to come out of the play-in tournament in the 9 and 10 game. Then you have to beat that next game to get to the 8 seed. Then that's probably going to go 7 games. Then you're going to come here, probably play 7 games. It's just too many games here for the Hornets to make too much of a deep run in the playoffs. So my Cavaliers, I think this is our year where we make a run. Over the last couple years, we haven't had the greatest playoff success, especially last year, which was not good. Not the way we wanted to end our season last year. But again, it all comes down to our health on the roster. If we can get through these playoffs at least fully healthy with our main guys out there playing, we should be able to win. So
yeah, this game, after like looking at it and like kind of like just thinking in my head like how this series could go, this is kind of giving me vibes of last year, Cleveland v. Indiana. And Indiana last year was one of those teams where they can shoot the lights out. They're high octane offense, and they're just trying to outscore you. They don't care if they give up points on the defensive end. It doesn't matter. Their offense was just so high powered. It didn't matter. They were just outscoring you, and their offense was keeping them in games. Simple as that. I think this is I think this is just like that. I really, really do. Like I said, Charlotte, very, very high octane offense, can shoot the 3 ball, can get to that rim, and they're okay defensively. And going up against Cleveland here, Cleveland don't want to choke again. Like I said, in their first series, this is do or die for Cleveland this year. They got to make it to the conference finals and or the finals at some point. They've been there. They've been close. They just have not been able to get it done. But, man, I would not be surprised if Charlotte won this series as well and went on that Cinderella run. Like I said, this Charlotte Hornets team reminds me just like Indiana. They really, really do. And maybe on one bracket, I will pick the Hornets to advance. But in this one, I think Cleveland just has enough to get by Charlotte. I think this goes 7 games. I really, really do. I really think this goes 7 games. I just think that the Hornets offense is just that good. Now, don't get me wrong. Cleveland's offense can turn it up really fast. They have some snipers on that team. Harden can take over at any time. I like Schroeder. I like Keon Ellis. I like all those guys. All those guys can turn it on at any point. And then obviously Donovan Mitchell. He's going to be the best player on the court at all times. Simple as that. So I'm going to give the edge to Cleveland.
Yeah, and the thing with the Cavs is if they can bring back that defensive presence that they had last season, that's really why we were the number one seed last year, is because we were really good offensively, but we were also one of the best defensive teams. But this year, our defense has not been that elite level. Mobley, he was defensive player last year, defensive player of the year. This year, he hasn't been the greatest defender. He's still very, very good, but the Cavaliers as a whole really took a step back defensively. If they can find a way to recapture some of that defensive presence that they had last year, they should be able to make a deep run here in these playoffs. So like that one a lot here. Jumping into the next set here. We got the round 2. We got the number 2 versus 7 seed matching up versus the number 3 versus number 6 seed. We both have the same matchup here as well, the Knicks and the Celtics. This is going to be a great matchup here. When you get these two teams in a playoff setting, it's always going to be cinema to watch. Big time rivals over the NBA's history. These two teams are always a must-watch series, and this is going to be no different either. I do think that the Celtics will edge out the Knicks here, but it's going to be one heck of a series here. I'm going to be tuned in probably for every single one of these games. This is going to be a phenomenal series to watch. I think that there's going to be a lot of, physicality, lots of emotion. This series is going to have it all. So this could be one of those series where the Knicks do finally have their playoff moment that they have been searching for. Do they come out here and knock off the Celtics? But the Celtics just have shown that they are the better team in the playoffs, especially over the last few years. They have made deep runs in the playoffs every single year. I don't see why they wouldn't here this year. So give me the Celtics to knock off the Knicks here in this second round. Deshaun, what about your half?
Yeah, I'm going to take Boston to win this series as well. This series will go to 7. It's going to go to 7 in TD Garden. I think Boston prevails. Let's not forget, these two teams matched up, I think, last year. It is also where Jason Tatum towards ACL or Achilles as well in this series. So a little revenge for Tatum as well, in which the Knicks knocked off the Celtics, I think, in 6. I think Boston definitely wants this matchup. I really, really do. Like I said, these two teams complement each other very, very well. They're damn near similar. They match up very, very well with each other. But like I said, I think Boston is the best team in the East. Knicks low-key suck. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm just not. They get to these moments and they blow it. It's simple as that. I think this is no different. I really don't. Their moment was last year, facing Indiana in the conference finals, and they didn't get it done. I think this is too early for them. I think the Knicks still have to make a few more changes before they get there. But I just think Tatum and Brown and that team as a whole will prevail them over the Knicks. And like I said, the Knicks are just so night and day. You can't trust the Knicks, but I can trust Boston. So it'd be Boston to win this series in 7.
All right, in agreement there. Now we are on to the Eastern Conference Finals. We both have the same matchup here. So we're in agreement here in this whole East bracket pretty much here. So we got the Cavaliers and the Celtics. And you guys already know where I'm going to go with this one. Give me the Cavaliers to knock off the Celtics. This is our year. It is. It has to be. It can't be like this again. It just can't. Come on, Cavs. We just played the Celtics. In that playoff series, a couple years ago, and I remember that series very, very well. I believe that game did go to 6, but we did get a couple games out of the Celtics. We won in Boston on one. Donovan Mitchell was crazy, but what he was missing was that second option, a guy like James Harden. So all eyes are not going to be on Donovan Mitchell. They're going to be on James Harden because he is supposed to be that extra piece that we have been needing to push us over the top. Is he going to be that here for us in these playoffs? I hope so, man. I really do. I think this is our year. If it is, James Harden is the difference in this series. Sounds crazy to say that, but it's really what it's going to come down to. Can James Harden provide enough scoring? Can he provide enough facilitating to move the needle and push us over the top. But again, pretty much the theme of this whole eastern side of the bracket. This game's probably going 7. It probably is. I wouldn't be surprised. But again, the Cavaliers are just due to make a run. So give me the Cavaliers to finally have our moment that we've been searching for to get us to the NBA Finals. Sean, what about your half?
Yeah, and I'm on the other side. I am on Boston. This is not going 7 games. This will go 6 at max. Boston's just a better basketball team. They've been here before. This is something new for that Cleveland team and for Donovan Mitchell, and especially for James Harden's ass. Both of them in the conference finals, series before the finals, right here, all the marbles on deck. I think even if Cleveland loses this series, I still think it's been a successful season, honestly. I really, really do. Making it to the conference finals, I think they'll be all right. But I just think that they're running into the wrong team. If this was New York, then give me Cleveland all day, sure. But I just really think this is just a bad matchup for Cleveland here. I really, really do. I think Boston's playoff experience and leadership, and on top of that, coaching will be the difference. I think Boston will get more out of their bench than Cleveland. And like I said, that's high praise for Boston because, like I said, Cleveland with Schroeder, Ellis, Harden, Merrill, if he's on the bench, Wade, like they got some dudes over there. Tyson, like Cleveland is a very, very deep squad. Do not get me wrong. I just think that this is just a bad draw for them. I really, really do. Give me Boston, and I'll take them in 6 games.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that coaching aspect because I think both of these teams have some of the best coaches in the NBA by far. Kenny Atkinson, I love him as a coach. Great coach. And then you got Joe Mazzulla, who's also one of the greatest coaches in the league as well. So not only is this going to be a star-powered matchup, but the coaching masterclass that's going to go on here is also going to be something to watch. Yeah, this series right here, going to be probably one of the best series in playoff history, really. I think this is going to be a phenomenal series here. So this series does happen, better tune in because it's going to be a phenomenal one to watch. So on to the Western Conference now. We got the round 1 here of the Western Conference. We got the number 8 seed versus number 1 seed matchups here. My matchup, I had the Clippers and the OKC Thunder. Going to keep this one very, very quick here. OKC Thunder, I think, has the best roster in the NBA, and they've shown it year after year so far, and they're going to get it done. The Clippers, outside of Kawhi and Garland, they're going to need some others to step up to have a chance here, and I just don't know if they can. They're going to need guys like Benedict Mathurin to step up. Chris Dunn's got to give you some defense and buckets. Brook Lopez has to play a huge factor in the middle of the paint here. And I just don't know if that's going to be enough to hang with the Thunder. Thunder have good players at every position. They're also very, very well coached, have a good game plan. And of course, Shea revolves around him. And 7-game series, it's going to be hard to beat the Thunder here 4 times. So give me the Thunder to pull it off. If I wouldn't be surprised now if the Clippers do get a game or 2 here, though. But give me the Thunder to win this series relatively easy. So, Deshaun, what about your half?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it quicker than Mark did. This is a 4-0 sweep. It's just not happening. Yes, I do like Portland a lot. Do not get me wrong. Could I see them taking the game? Maybe. But Thunder's just too good. Thunder is a very, very deep team. Their bench is really, really good as well. Very good defensively, very sound offensively. They have their pieces that they need to win another championship. And like I said, Portland's going to run into a buzzsaw. So Thunder in 4.
All right, that's our quick round 1 there in the 1 and 8 seed games. Next one we got is going to be the number 2 and number 7 seed in the Western Conference round 1. Both have the same matchup here. We got the Suns and the Spurs. Now, I do think the series is actually going to be a lot better than what it may seem on paper. I do think there's a chance this series goes 6 or 7 games. I really do. Just because I do think the Devin Booker effect is going to be real. Because Devin Booker is going to go out there and give you buckets, you know. But I feel like as this series does get deeper and deeper, they're probably going to find ways to stifle Devin Booker, and they're going to need guys like Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green to go out there and give you consistent buckets. And I just feel like in some of those games, they're not going to be ready to score. So they're probably going to lose those games that Devin Booker doesn't go out there and drop 40 or 50, you know, which is insane. But Devin Booker is definitely that caliber player that can give you 40 or 50 a night, especially in a playoff setting. So I think Devin Booker does have great moments in this series, but in terms of a 7-game series, the Spurs, they have more talent on this roster. They're just better coached, better defense. You know, I think they have the whole package really. So Spurs, I think they get out of round 1, but it's not going to be no easy layup. They're going to have probably some moments where they struggle, but I do think the Spurs will have enough to get through here in round 1. So Deshaun, take it away.
Yeah, now we get to the best team in the league, my San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, this game, this series, I go to 5. I'll give the Suns 1 game. The Suns have played us really, really tough this season for some reason I just don't understand, but they played us really, really tough. So salute to them. But you're telling me that the Suns are going to have to go up against the Defensive Player of the Year and potentially the MVP. We also might have the 6th Man of the Year on our roster as well, and last year's Clutch Player of the Year, and, you know, probably 3rd place in Rookie of the Year voting in Dylan Harper. I mean, we have a very, very deep team. Some people may think that we don't have a lot of experience on this team. Let me remind you, we have Luke Cornett on this team, champion with the Boston Celtics. De'Aaron Fox, he has playoff experience. Harrison Barnes, he also has playoff experience. I mean, I don't know what these. I don't see what these people see. I just don't. When you have someone like Victor Wembanyama that can absolutely change the game, I mean, it just makes it hard for teams. I mean, you know, you drive into the paint and you see an alien down there, and you're like, "Whoa, I got to go back behind the 3-point line." It's as simple as that. You know, we force you into bad shots. We're very, very good. We're top 5 offense, top 5 defense. That's the perfect formula for winning series and winning championships. We're just that team this year. It's going to be very, very hard to stop us. Suns, yes, they do have some shooters on their team. Yes, they do have Devin Booker. If the Spurs weren't in the playoffs, I'd be rooting for Phoenix. I'm a big fan of Phoenix. I love Phoenix. I loved them back when they had Chris Paul and Devin Booker and Mikal Bridges, and that team when they made it to the finals against the Bucks. Loved Phoenix, rooted for them, but I just think this is a really bad matchup for Phoenix. They're going to run into a buzzsaw here, and we're going to beat them in 5.
All right. No surprise there from Deshaun, as he is a Spurs fan. Well, we all know where he was going with that one. So on to the next one here. We got number 3 and 6 seeds here. We got the 6 seed Timberwolves taking on number 3 seed Nuggets. Another series where I think it's going to go deep. I think both of these teams have strengths and weaknesses that each team can exploit. So I think it goes 7 games. I really do. And I think this is a toss-up. This is a tough one for me to pick because I wanted to go Timberwolves. But again, the Nuggets, having done it before with this group, they got great playoff experience, good finals experience, pretty much that same roster that they had just a few years ago when they won the finals. So considering they have it, Jokic, he's the best player on the court here. That's where I'm going to take it. I know Anthony Edwards is a heck of a player, but Jokic, the things that he can do on the basketball court are things that you can't really stop, you know? So it's going to be one of those situations where I'm going to lean the Nuggets, but I do think this is going to be one heck of a series. It's going to go 7 games. It's going to be phenomenal games here, but yeah, Nuggets, they're going to be able to edge out the Timberwolves here. Also, the home court advantage, they'll be in Denver for 7 games. So yeah, I think that's definitely going to play a huge factor for the Nuggets to move on. So Sean, what about your side?
Yeah, I think this is the 3rd straight year that these two teams are going to meet in the postseason. First year, I think they met in round 1 in which the Nuggets won. Next year, they met in round 2, in which the Timberwolves won, and now this year, Denver very very hot right now. I mean, they are unstoppable. They're beating everybody, including my Spurs. Uh, I just don't know. They're on one right now. They're on a warpath. I would not want to see them. But if there's a team other than OKC and San Antonio that can neutralize this Denver team, in which we've seen it before, it is Minnesota. It really is. I don't think the Nuggets wanted to draw Minnesota. I don't think they did. I think Minnesota wins this series in 7. Minnesota has shown time and time again they can hang with this Nuggets team and they can beat them in a 7-game series. They've done it already. They match up very very well with Denver. Like I said, these games are going to be back and forth. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1-1 going to Minnesota, then 2-2, then 3-2 Minnesota, 3-3, and then 4-3 Minnesota. Like I said, this series is going 7. Minnesota is going to prevail. I'm not saying that Minnesota is the better team. I'm not saying that. But like I said, these two teams know each other very, very well. And like I said, if there's a team that's going to neutralize this Nuggets team other than teams not named Oklahoma City and San Antonio, it's Minnesota. Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, Nas Reed, Gobert sucks. He's not going to be able to hold Jokic anyway, but Jokic is going to have to be a big part of that. And then, too, you don't know the status of Spencer Jones and or Peyton Watson as well. Those are 2 huge guys coming off the bench for Denver. But, yeah, give me Minnesota in 7.
All right, disagreeing there. On to the next one. Now, this one's going to be a pretty easy one for me. Going to be very quick. At the 5-seed Rockets take on the number 4-seed Lakers. It just comes down to the injury situation for the Lakers. Who's going to be out there for them? It probably ain't going to be Luka. Probably no Austin Reeves. You got LeBron out there and Bronny James. Good luck. That's not going to be enough to stop this Kevin Durant-led Rockets team with Sengun, Amen Thompson. Come on. There ain't no way this Lakers team is going to hold around. Now, this Lakers team, I knew they were going to have their guys in there. Maybe it's a different story, but still, the Rockets, I probably would have picked them to beat the Lakers anyway. But considering the injury situation for the Lakers, this is probably going to be a 4-0 sweep for the Rockets. I think this is the best game you could have drew for the Rockets. So, yeah, Rockets, 4-0 sweep, too much talent. Lakers, you got LeBron at 40-something years old. He can't carry a team like he usually could have back in the day. So, give me the Rockets to prevail pretty easily here. Deshaun, what about your side?
Yeah, I hate Houston.
Yeah.
I don't like them at all. They're frauds. They're really bad at basketball. It's as simple as that. Lakers, I'm not in love with them either, especially without Luka and or Austin Reeves. Now your third option, LeBron James, now turns into your number 1 option. I don't love that. I've already not been in love with the Lakers bench. I think the Lakers bench is one of the worst in the league. I mean, it's really, really bad. Don't get me wrong, JJ Redick is one hell of a coach. But that bench, having Bronny James, Nick Smith Jr., etc., having to play extended minutes for you in a playoff series, absolutely not. I mean, it's just not happening here. Then, like I said, you got to go to Luke Kennard, Jared Vanderbilt, Marcus Smart. I mean, you got to get very good offensive games out of those guys. You probably need Kennard to average a triple-double this series to even have a chance. Houston, on the other hand, better home team than a road team. This series is going to end in 5. Houston's whack ass is going to give up 1 game. I'm already knowing it. Sengun can't guard a Firefly. He's bad. Kevin Durant, he's good, but he also sucks. Thompson, he's bad. Jabari Smith is a bum. Simple as that. Man, I really, really do hate this Rockets team. But like I said, I just don't see how you can pick the Lakers to beat them in a 7-game series. I just don't see it. So it's going to be Houston in 5 for me.
All right. Well, there is our picks here for this one. On to the next one. We got round 2 now. The 1 versus 8. versus the 4 and 5. My matchup, I got the Rockets and the Thunder, just like Deshaun has. Another one that's going to be pretty quick for me. Like the points Deshaun just touched on with the Rockets, they are frauds. Sengun is really the biggest fraud on this Rockets team because I've picked him a handful of times this year on overs where he's in like the best spots possible to be in and just sells the bread. You know, Sengun is really the key factor here for me because I expect him to be a lot better than the way he's been playing recently. It's like he's unmotivated. It seems that way. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like he's out there like an NPC character is running up and down the court sometimes, not doing anything. When he's a heck of a lot better player than that, but he just doesn't want to. It's what it seems like to me. And I don't know if the playoffs will ignite some fire in him. I don't know. But the Rockets team really comes down to Sengun's effort. It's really what it is. Because Amen Thompson gives you effort. KD, he will also give you effort. It's really Sengun. He's the missing piece. I just don't know if he's shown me enough that he's just going to wake up here in a playoff series. So I think the Thunder beat him in 5. If it does go 6, KD's probably the one being the big cause of that. KD's probably out there dropping 30 or 40 in those games to beat the Thunder. But I think that's the only way that the Rockets are going to be able to beat the Thunder in 1 or 2 games. But Thunder will prevail pretty easily. Deshaun, what about your side?
Yeah, as much as I want to shit on the Rockets again, this Houston team has played this Thunder team really, really well for some odd reason. I mean, they've matched up really well against them. OKC's ultimately going to win this series. I think max 6 games. The only games Houston will win are home games. If they win a road game, watch out because I don't know. I mean, like I said, I like this Thunder team. Don't get me wrong. I like the addition of McCain. But, man, Chet Holmgren's a bum. He's not good either. So, I mean, on top of all the bums you got on Houston, Holmgren's a bum. Man, Caruso's a bum too. Dort, he's a bum. He can't really score. Can you really trust him? No. I mean, I think this is going to be a scrappy series that unintentionally goes to 6 games. It shouldn't. This should be a 4-0 sweep. But I think there's going to be some fraudulent stuff. I think there's going to be some gambling going on. Yeah. I think we're going to need to call the number. And this gets to 6 games for no reason. So yeah. I'll take the Thunder.
Yeah, I think if it does go 6 games, I think KD's probably going to have at least 1 or 2 games where he's dropping 40-plus points because KD's the one capable of doing that. And I think that's really the only way that the Rockets can win a couple games is if KD's out there being like the KD of old in these situations. So, we'll see.
Ime Udoka is one hell of a coach.
Yeah.
He's very, very good, very, very good on the defensive side of the ball. He's been in these situations before. It's just obviously this Rockets team isn't like that Boston team that he had. But, you're going to need big minutes from Reed Shepherd. You're going to need big minutes from Jabari Smith Jr. You're going to need Jayshawn Tate to step up. You're going to need Sengun to defend something other than grass. I mean, you're just going to need big series from all of these guys. Can they defend OKC? Yes, they can. It's just OKC's bench, I think, is going to be the main factor.
Yeah. And just touching on Reed Shepherd, I've been one of the most Reed Shepherd haters, I think, this whole year, all the way dating back from day 1 in the NBA this year, where we had the first game of the season where I believe the Rockets were playing the Thunder, I want to say, but I can't remember. But, yeah, I took an under on Reed Shepherd on the first game of the season, and we've been targeting unders on his props pretty much this whole season. I never took one over on him. We took him a handful of times, taking them all under. He did go over in a couple, but a majority of the time he has been going under, and that's because I don't think he's that good of a basketball player. I really don't. I don't really see what everybody else sees. But don't get me wrong. Over the last month and a half of the season, Reed Shepherd has been absolutely hooping. He's been providing very good, stuff on the court in terms of a point guard that the Rockets really needed. Reed Shepherd has been stepping up. So if Reed Shepherd can step up in this series, hey, I won't be surprised. The Rockets do make some noise, but again, I do think the Thunder just have enough in this time of year to pull out a 7-game series win if they need to. So I think the Thunder will get it done. On to the next one. We got the 2-7 seed versus number 3 and 6 seed. I have the Nuggets and the Spurs here, and I also think it's going to be a pretty quick one for me. I think the Spurs win this game win this series pretty easily. I really do. I think the Spurs match up against the Nuggets really, really well. You know, it's going to be a phenomenal matchup, though. When you get Jokic and Wembanyama going back and forth with each other, it's going to be a great thing to watch, you know. So we'll see how this does turn out, but I do think the Spurs just overall have more than the Nuggets do. But I wouldn't be surprised the Nuggets do make some noise in this series as well. But again, I think the Spurs are going to have a pretty good deep run here in this playoff. So I do think they're able to edge out the Nuggets here. So, Deshaun, what about your half of this one?
First, I want to go back to Houston because I just love talking about him. If going back to what you said about Reece Shepherd, him having to play the point guard role in a playoff series, I just really don't like it. And that just goes back to me thinking that Houston should have went and got James Harden. If they would have got James Harden, I would be much higher on Houston. Much, much higher on Houston if they would have went and got James Harden. But all right, I'm done. But let's get to a real team. San Antonio, we're gonna win this series in 5. I appreciate the kind words from you, my good sir, against Denver. But yeah, I think us against Denver will go to 6, in my opinion, just because I have respect for them and I did not want to see them on my side of the bracket. But it doesn't matter. They're going to lose to Timberwolves anyway. Timberwolves, like I said, it's going to come to an end at some point. They're not reaching the conference finals this year. They're just not that team. It's just not their year. You can just tell it isn't. We own Minnesota. It's as simple as that. We own them. We've lost like 1 or 2 games against Minnesota, and we were leading by double digits in like the final minutes and just blew the game. That's just completely our fault. We're the better teams, period. I mean, I just don't see how Minnesota is going to be able to stop us. Yes, we're going to give up points to Ant-Man. Yes, Julius Randle is going to be hard to deal with, but I think we match up really, really well with Minnesota. I think we can neutralize those guys, and I think we have the defenders to really give them a hard time. So Spurs in 5.
All right. No surprise there from Deshaun. On to the next one. We got the Western Conference Finals. Here we go. We got the Thunder and the Spurs. Same matchup here for both of us. And this is going to be cinema once again. Absolute cinema this series. It's going to go 7 for sure. It's just, I am going to lean the Thunder to win. And, you know, Deshaun, don't get mad, but I just think the Thunder are just built for this type of moment. You know? I really do. Just because that I think their roster's put together in the spot that has the ability to pull off possibly back-to-back championships. I really do. I think they're the team that can do it. And the only concern to me is J-Dub. You know, can J-Dub provide enough of that all-star capabilities that he's shown like last year? Because he's been hurt for a majority this year. So what kind of form is J-Dub going to bring here into these playoffs? That's going to be crucial for this game, I think, because it can't all rely on Shea in this one. They're going to need guys like Chet Holmgren, J-Dub. They're going to have to bring it. You know? That's what's going to take to beat the Spurs, because the Spurs can go toe-to-toe pretty much at every position with the Thunder. So it's going to be a heck of a matchup here. Both these teams are very, very similar, in my opinion. They're pretty much carbon copies of one another. I really do. But the only difference I see is going to be the scoring between Shea and Victor Wembanyama. Who's going to outscore who? That's going to be probably the difference in this series. But they're also going to need other players around them to provide the scoring as well. I just trust the Thunder more. They've shown it to me more. The Spurs haven't shown it to me yet. They could very well show me here in these playoffs. But as of right now, I trust the Thunder more. So I'm going to lean the Thunder. So, Deshaun, take it away from here.
Yeah, sometimes I be feeling like people just don't listen to me. I could have sworn I said Chet Holmgren was a bum.
Yeah.
Sworn I said he was a bum. Shea's a bum. Simple as that. I mean, if Shea's not getting no calls, okay, she's cooked. They're cooked. Keep Shea off of the free throw line. They are cooked. I'm telling you, we have been putting belt to ass to OKC all season. Played them 5 times, won the season series 4-1. I mean, this is just Monday Night Raw. I mean, this is ugly. I have a lot of respect for OKC, though. A lot of respect. We've built our team off of OKC's championship winning team. That's how we built our team. So then we won't make that same mistake. That's why we went out there and got Luke Cornett, Mason Plumlee, Lindy Waters, and those guys. I mean, and they've showed up for us. And like I said, we have dudes on our team that can defend all positions. Because like I said, even if Hartenstein's in the game, throw Cornett in the game, throw Plumlee in the game. Chet Homer's in the game, put his father in the game, which is Victor Wembanyama. Simple as that. I honestly think that we're better than the Thunder. We've showed it all season long. Even when we've played teams above 500, we were the best against them. We had the best record against teams above 500 in playoff teams. What does that tell you? We don't fold against good teams. We like to be in these games. We want all the smoke. We do. We're not running from nothing. I think the Thunder go down here. They've had a good run. It has to stop somewhere. I think it's our year. I think we have the best player on the court in Victor Wembanyama. Go argue with a wall. Doesn't matter. Give me the Spurs in 6. I think, honestly, I think it's 1-1 going back to San Antonio. I think it ends up being 3-1 going back to OKC. And then OKC will take the game, and then we'll win back at home. So, just saying, argue with your mama. I've been ready for this. I want this series right here just so people can shut up because the Spurs are here. We are back. And like I said, we're better than the Thunder. There are little bros, man. There are little bros. So give me the Spurs in 6.
All right, yeah, it's gonna be some phenomenal storylines to watch here for both of us here in these Western Conference Finals and Eastern Conference Finals here for both of our teams. We'll see how it matches up, and that only leaves us with one last thing to settle here, and we got the NBA Finals. We got the OKC Thunder versus my Cavaliers. You know, just for giggles, I should have put San Antonio in the finals to match up with my Cavaliers. That would have been fun. That is going to be a fun series if both of our teams do match up in the finals. So you guys are going to want to join in that Discord to get our reactions between that because that's going to be a phenomenal thing to watch if the Cavaliers and Spurs do end up in the finals. But anyway, for this one, I got the OKC Thunder and the Cavs. I understand here the OKC Thunder have the best team. I understand it. But what did I just say in the Eastern Conference Finals? This is our year. This is our year. We're going to put it all together on the biggest stage, the biggest moment. James Harden finally gets it done in the playoffs. He finally gets that ring that he's been searching for. And it's going to come at not a better time here with the Cavaliers. All the great teams that James Harden's been on in his career and wasn't able to come up in the playoffs, I think this team that he's on now in the Cavaliers has the missing pieces that he didn't have on those other teams. And I think it's the difference. I really do. So Cavaliers get that ring. They knock off Thunder in the finals. It's going to go 7 games. The theme of this series for the Cavaliers, it seems every series is probably going to go 7 games. It feels like. So it's going to take a toll. The Thunder are probably not going to have to deal with that toll because they're probably going to be getting those series over quicker than the Cavs. But still, I think the Cavaliers have the ability to put it all together in a big way here. So give me the Cavaliers to knock off the Thunder. A little bit of a sleeper pick, a little bit of a biased pick, but it's our year. So give me the Cavaliers. We're back on top. Deshaun, what about your finals?
Yeah, go Spurs, go. We're beating Boston in 6. We're better than them too. It's as simple as that. We're gonna have the best player on the court in Victor Wembanyama. And like I said, the way our team is built, it's built just like OKC's championship team. It's built just like it. Like you said, both of our teams are damn near a carbon copy. Damn near. And we match up really, really well with Boston. I honestly think we have the better offense than Boston. I think we have the better bench than Boston. And I think that's going to be a very, very big factor is the benches in this game. And two, in terms of the centers, when you have Kita matched up with Wembanyama, that's advantage Wembanyama right there. When you have Stephon Castle that can be on Jaylen Brown, when you have a sharpshooter in Julian Champagnie, you have Dylan Harper that can come off the bench, Harrison Barnes as well with his playoff experience, Luke Cornett, who obviously knows Boston very, very well, who can come off the bench. Like I said, yes, Boston does have Vucevic, but anybody worry about his ass. I mean, anybody worry about that right there. Man, we going to lock that shit up. I ain't worried about none of that. Derek White, I wish you would come home with your bald-headed ass. Please come home. I would love for him to be on the San Antonio Spurs again. I think that would put us way, way over the top with him. But like I said, best team in the East versus the best team in the West in a 7-game series. Like I said, we've shown that we can compete and beat the best of the best. Boston, you've had a great run. You've had a great season. It's just the Spurs are here. We're the hotter team. We're the younger team as well. But when you have Victor Wembanyama and the way that he can alter a game, I think it's going to be way, way too much because I think that that's going to lead to some turnovers, some shot clock violations, and extra possessions for us. And I think we'll need it. So give me the Spurs in 6, NBA Finals champions.
All righty. So that's our NBA champions here. We picked our whole bracket. We picked our predictions for every single game here, including the play-in tournament, what we think is going to happen. But you guys are going to want to join that free Discord just in case some of these matchups don't line up. You get the updated spread bets for each game, updated totals, stuff like that, all spreads. We also have other people in the community drop it in their own slips as well. So if you guys don't like any one of our angles, maybe somebody else in there has an angle that you guys are going to find enjoyable. Link down in the description below. Get yourself in that free Discord. And also, I will link Deshaun's stuff down in the description below for his stuff on YouTube. If you guys like some of his content analysis, go check it out. Again, let him know I sent you over there. Go subscribe over there. He's definitely going to appreciate that. So, Deshaun, you have anything you want to say here before we close out this NBA playoff video?
Yeah, if you like making money, go ahead and put in a future bet for the San Antonio Spurs. Simple as that. We're here. We're here to stay. Simple as that. I mean, this is going to be a very, very good NBA playoff this season. I mean, any of these series can go any other way. We're just here to give you our thoughts and opinions. It's as simple as that. Yes, it may seem a little biased. Wham, wham, wham. Yeah, go argue with your mom. But when you have good teams like we do, it's very hard to pick against them. It just is. And I know. I know what my team finna do, and we finna win the finals. So simple as that. Go Spurs, go.
All right, so that's going to conclude our video. Just in terms of the upcoming schedule, I do plan on having player prop videos out for each one of these games. Also, MLB will be dropping those videos as well daily. And in terms of upcoming collabs with Deshaun 2 Raw, I do want to plan on having a college football, mid-season, preseason video, I should say, going over some of the college football news because we're both huge college football fans, and I want to get some college football stuff back out there on the channel. So I kind of want to have a video planned, maybe the next couple months, previewing like the preseason coming up for like this upcoming schedules for teams, trying to predict each other's records and stuff like that. So yeah, upcoming collabs, stay tuned. Me and Deshaun, always a fun time when we hop on with each other. So yeah, definitely guys going to want to tune in for whenever we do collab. So that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. And we'll see you in the next one.